Hi, I'm Frank Lynn, and I'm a results leader.
You're listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Being a thought leader is easy. Getting results is hard. This show is for the results leader who lives and dies by their results. Here is your host and Chief Results Leader, Jonathan Rivera.
Yes, y'all. It is time once again for another ResultsLeader.fm. Welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. Today, I've got an interview with business growth specialist, Mr. Frank Lynn. Not only is he a business growth specialist, but he's also the author of the Business Mentor, Your Fast Track to Success. He's a good guy, very inspirational, and you will soon hear that. Let's jump in. Frank, welcome to the show. Are you ready to rock this thing?
I am, Jonathan, man. Let's do this.
All right, let's give our listeners a quick win. What book or books have you given most as a gift?
The book that I give the most would be Think and Grow Rich. I usually pass those out at the end of the year for Christmas gifts. It's probably one of the best books that I've ever read. Also, The Power of the Subconscious Mind is a book that I've probably reread myself over a dozen times, maybe more. And every time I read it, I get enlightened in some form or another. So those two books are usually what I pass out and I share, and they seem to be get some good results from my clients and friends, but they probably getting tired of seeing it. But
let's hear a story of how an apparent failure set you up for later success.
Yeah, I would say that my first business was probably a failure. I hate to even admit it online, but it's my wife and I packed up everything we have. We actually moved from Chicago and came down to South Florida and opened up our first business together. It didn't turn out to be what we had expected as far as being business owners. And for those of you out there who are business owners, you know how difficult that possibly can be. And one of the things that I know that I look back on and I think to myself, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? And I guess there is no right or wrong. It's just having that opportunity to really gather the tools you need to move on to your next venture. For me, it was, we ended up having to close the doors. I actually borrowed $50,000 from my mother. She actually mortgaged her house so that I can get this business off the ground. And I ended up having to get a part-time job at night to pay her back, paid her back every dime, and started my next business after that was completely paid off. It took me a couple of years. I worked night shifts to make sure I could make that payment to her because obviously her house was on the line. But when the doors shut, it was quite a disappointment. But what I did was, again, my wife was a big proponent of it. She said, what'd you do wrong and what can you do better? And one of the things that I can do better was to really strengthen my mindset and go into it with a better and fresher mind to really engage with not only my clients, but myself and my team and really help them to put them in the right position for success. And in my case, hire a coach, somebody that can help me, that's been there before. A lot of people dismiss that as a coach is too expensive or I don't think I can afford that. But you can't afford not to because these coaches are there and they've helped you do it. They've helped you succeed. Since then, I've had many mentors and many coaches. I just got off the line with one of my mindset coaches right before we got on this call and shared some insights. And I learned something new every day. It's really about engaging that. So how I went from a failure would be I lost my business. How I went to a success is I turned it all around and used everything that I lost, the things that I've gained to start multiple businesses since then that have been very, very successful, including, my coaching business and, of course, my property management real estate company.
You said better mindset. What does that mean?
We tend to get caught up in our own heads. As you know, Jonathan, it's the hardest part for us is to get out of our own way. We are filled and bombarded with just literally tons and tons of distractions that are put in our way. You could say they're done intentionally or they're done unintentionally. Either way, they're distractions. And those small distractions set what I call little time bombs in our heads where we see something we don't like and it tends to give us that negative self-talk for 10, 15, 20 minutes about whatever it is, a political figure or somebody in the movie industry or somebody that you're not caring for or you don't like. Could be even a family member. And you tend to carry that along with you. Mindset really helps you clear that path we're human. We're going to obviously we're going to get connected by those things. But one of the things that's important, I think for me, is that when I'm working with my client and their mindset is to be able to not let that trigger happen reactive, but more proactive. I call it the switch. So can we flick that switch on and off? Absolutely. So we don't have to let those things bother us or interfere with us or distract us. We can kind of turn flip that button off and turn away from all that negative self-talk, negative distractions, negative garbage that's fed into us on a daily basis, whether it's news media or things that we hear people say. All those things affect us, and they affect our beliefs. They affect which in turn affects how we behave. And that behavior transmits into our results, which in most cases people say, I can't do this. It's not working for me. And that's really them not being able to step into that, step out of the comfort zone and wade through that river of change, as I like to say, and get to the other side because they're comfortable. They're comfortable sitting on that shoreline and going, hey, I'm cool here. I'm cool. This is good. But again, that's all mindset. It's really clearing away those limiting beliefs and allowing yourself to be unlimited and succeed and accomplish the goals that you're trying to reach. And that's really important, especially when we're here to achieve goals. That I think that's our purpose in life.
Did I hear you correctly? It almost sounded like you said negativity is a choice and you can flip a switch and just shut it off. Is that right?
Yes. It's not the common norm, but again, we choose that. We can choose whatever we want, whether it's positive or negative, to be fed into us. Again, I always use the example of a computer. I was at a seminar. I was doing a live event for about 150 people. And one of the things was I have an app. And on this app, I'm able to transport all my information, my contact information via an app. I put it on a friend of mine's phone and he's like, no, man, I don't want that on my home screen. We kind of joked about it. And afterwards, I went up and started speaking at this event. And I said, it's interesting because Tony didn't want me to put this app on his phone, but yet we allow so much garbage to be put into our heads on a daily basis. We're more concerned what's on our home screen on our iPhone than we are what's in our head screen on a daily basis, and all the negative news and people talking garbage, trash talk, we call it, telling us things that change our minds. And yeah, you could flick that off. All you got to do is you have to have the right training, though, Jonathan. For most people, it's like a sport. I mean, we can go years trying to learn how to play tennis great or golf great. It doesn't happen overnight. And again, by no means is any of this easy. I've been training for 15 years on my mental training alone, whether it's deprivation tank or going into a free ice cold bath, whatever it is. All these things are the mental side of how we can actually expand our minds and really clear away those things and be able to say, hey, you know what? I'm not allowing that in my head. I use my mind as what I call my temple. I have warriors that guard that, and it's all a mental state. And I don't allow anybody or anything to come into my temple. And that temple's guarded by warriors, and those warriors keep away those negative talks, that negative information that we get fed on a daily basis.
What would you say is the most worthwhile investment you've ever made?
I would have to say, if in myself, there's no doubt about it. Investing in yourself is not easy. You could pay, again, I always jokingly say, we could pay $1,000 for an iPhone, but somebody says, hey, $1,000 to go see a great speaker or a motivator or somebody that's going to turn our lives around. That's just too much money. We could spend $5,000 on a new car for a down payment of a new car, but if I want to spend $5,000 to go to an ashram and learn how to meditate and keep my mind clear, that's too much money. So for me, investing in myself has always been my goal. And I try to take a certain percentage of what I make every year and kind of invest it in myself, at least 5 to 10%, to try to keep my mind fresh with new ideas and new thoughts. And I could wade through what's good and what's not. But if we invest in ourselves, it's the best investment we can make.
What do you say to those people who think investing in yourself is selfish?
I think that's a triggered response. Most people who don't understand it, it's interesting that you say that. I told my sister that I went to go see a very popular motivational speaker, and she's told a couple friends, and her friends said, that's all garbage. It's all lies. And she came back to me and says, hey, that stuff you're listening to, it's all lies. And it's harder even when it's family members that are telling you that the choices that you're making aren't necessarily in line with society or in line with what everybody believes. And being able to step outside of that is where you have to be use that warrior term, but where you have to be that warrior and say, hey, listen, I'm not following the pack. I'm going to make a different decision to get different results. And if I wanted the same results as a family member or a friend, then I'm going to be living that same lifestyle. They say the 5 people around you, usually you end up, or the 4 people around you, you're the 5th person to be exactly like that. Whether it's making money or, your weight is at a certain scale rate, whatever it is, you're going to be that 5th person if you end up with 4 that are exactly like it. And to step outside of that is not an easy task, only for the fact that we use so much of what we hear as it's not the right choice because we're afraid. And I'll use that term a lot, Jonathan, because I think we live in fear. So our reaction is to shut everything down that we don't understand. So we don't understand something, it's quick to go, I'm not going to invest in myself. That's a waste of money. It's $1,000. That's too much money for me, or $5,000 for this. And that's fear. That fear just steps in and takes over because it's there to protect us, which is good, but we have to know how to control that.
In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
Forgiveness would be the most that has improved my life. Being able to forgive is not an easy task. Going back to the mindset of a warrior, there's a lot of things that happen to us in our lives. Everybody has to deal with certain challenges and pains. We all live it to our own extent. How we deal with that is up to us, but to let go of that, hold on to these things for literally sometimes decades of something somebody said or something somebody did, and not being able to just let it go and move on with your life, which is an incredible opportunity to be able to live your life and not only maybe possibly share your dreams, but to be able to share your drive with somebody else and possibly the world by just letting go and forgiving. That's made a very big impact in my life over the last 5-10 years.
What are some bad recommendations you hear in your area of expertise?
Bad recommendations, a really good question. I think that one of them that I've been teetering back and forth, believe it or not, is get more sales, always be closing, things like that. We are looking at people, leads as they call them, as just objects, and we've dismissed them as people. To me, that's a big thing that I try to pass to my clients is that, again, it's not really about leads. It's not, I had a friend of mine say, I had a bad lead, and I'm like, listen, that bad lead is a human being. They just necessarily didn't want to choose your course. It's not really so much that they gave bad information or that they just didn't connect with them. So I think the information that I feel has been floating out there is, get more leads, go out there, hustle, work hard, grind it out, all those words. I think they're starting to fall to the side, but for me, that's not really in my vocabulary. I think it's people want to grind less, live more. And that's my goal, is to help them do that so that they don't have to do those things. And they don't have to look at people as a lead. They can look at them as a life. And that really helps in really accomplishing their goals and starting to feel from that side of the fence and really putting their customers and their clients first.
All right, we're about to get into the results portion of the show. But before we do that, I got to ask you, have you shared the show? If you're digging what I'm laying down here, then I want to ask you to share this show with somebody who will find it helpful. Share it on your social medias. Use the hashtag ResultsLeaderFM, and I'll be looking for you out there. Thank you. Why do results matter?
For me, I think results are a way of life. It's the way we see things, advancements and movements in our lives. Life is like a garden, and what you plant in that garden is going to either grow or be choked out by weeds, and it's up to us to be cultivating that on a daily basis. How do we go out into our garden that we've planted, and we spent a lot of time grooming this beautiful, beautiful garden and allow weeds to grow into it? We have to constantly go out and cultivate and clean that garden and really, really make sure that we're reaching the goals we need to reach, because it shows us, Jonathan, that we are capable of so much. When you accomplish a goal, whether it's beat a certain time in a race or accomplish a painting that you've been working on for weeks or months, it's that feeling that comes across us that you can't really put words to. It's a refreshed thought that allows you to say, what's next? And really take a step forward into changing who we are. I think we're all put here on earth to experience. What can we experience in life? And results have a lot to do with that, and the results that we can accomplish over a lifetime.
I want you to think back over the last 5 years. What new realization has helped you get better results for your clients?
I have to go back to mindset. I had a friend of mine who was working on a book about placebo. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the placebo, it's they would take, certain medical treatments like pills, and they would give them, sugar pills, and then they would give them the real drug. And they found out that the sugar pill was actually getting as much effect as the pill was. And he said to me, Frank, it's interesting because everything I think now is placebo. For me, everything is mindset, Jonathan. I mean, I teach it so much that, I just believe that everything is about the mind. We can accomplish so much if we're able to kind of just move those things aside and really take a fresh look. I mean, I question myself I question myself today. I had an answer for somebody and I just wasn't happy with the answer. And I'm like thinking, why am I thinking that? And I've been training on this for, like I say, over 15 years, just the mental side. I mean, I work with some of the greatest coaches I could think of that trained athletes in how to overcome certain obstacles mentally. And I still to this day have to stop and question my own mindset. But if we really looked at it from a fresh thought, that's how I like to say we start, we can clear away a lot of those things. And I think that to me, that's the one thing that has changed my life, is to really step back and say, is this my mind, my body? What's talking to me right now? And to really focus on what that is and help myself in better understanding who I am. And that takes a lot. Again, that's where the training comes in. Without the proper training, you can flop around all day long, not understanding what to do next. So training helps a lot.
What area of your business would you like better results?
In my business, I would say always to be able to help more people. If I'm maxed out, so to speak, I can only help so many people a week because confined by time. And I'm looking for new ways to help my customers to grow, to be stronger, and to do it on a larger scale. Again, if I can go out into the world right now and I had a mic that I could talk to, it could open up a large platform of people to hear me on a regular basis, whether, again, we could say podcast or at some kind of a radio station or anything, would be to work on your mind, take the time to do that. And that's one thing that I would really want to do to help get more clients, is to say, hey, listen, if you had the opportunity to work on your mind, it would change everything for you. Literally your life, your business, your relationships, everything. It all comes down to mindset.
What results are you most proud of?
My marriage. My marriage is probably top of the list. I don't know if you're married.
Oh yeah.
You are? Okay, then you know.
Years.
Okay, good. I'm 33. I'm 33 years, and it's every year it's a new beginning. And as you know, a man with 18 years on his belt, it's not always easy to work side by side with somebody and have the same vision every day. We all have different goals. We all have different desires and wants. But to be on the same page with an individual for me for 33 years, 34 years, to me is an incredible accomplishment, because I've seen many relationships not succeed because they're not on the same page. So I would say that would be one of the biggest accomplishments. Another accomplishment for me is being able to help my clients. Again, I had a young man come to me during COVID and struggling business. I mean, he was just struggling, and he turned to me. I'm not kidding you. This man had a couple bucks to his name. I mean, I'm obviously exaggerating, but he didn't have much. And he said, listen, I want to invest in your coaching program and working with you. And I was blown away. I'm like, you can go anywhere. And he said, I need to do this. I can get you on a podcast with him. And then he tells me, you changed my life, and I didn't do anything. All I did was help him to see differently, Jonathan. When you pull back the curtain a little bit and you say, hey, there's something that could be different here, and it's on the mental side, and you take to that like a fish in water, and you take to it, it changes everything about how you see your business, how you see your life, how you see the world. And I mean, he's like a different guy. I mean, you've seen pictures of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos when they first started, and you're like, who are these geeky guys, right? And then you see him now, and like, Jeff Bezos like pushing 350 in the weight room and stuff, and they're like, they're two different guys. But that's what happens when you change mentally. I mean, you just become somebody different. Look at Elon Musk when he first started with PayPal way back when he was in college, and now look at him now. He's freaking dancing on stage in front of a Tesla. I mean, they're just two different guys. And how do we get there? How do we get there is mental. It's not something that happens overnight. It's something that they built on mentally that in years and years later, we're looking at Jeff Bezos could probably do another action film if he wanted to. This guy's like pumped now.
That is a great picture. You're right. So any parting thoughts you want to share with the thought leaders who are listening to us right now?
For every thought leader out there, my advice to you is take your knowledge and share it. We've got enough garbage out there. And again, you'll hear me say this. We need more people like, again, Jonathan, being able to share this message. We need people that if you have knowledge, share that knowledge, get it out there, share it with somebody, learn how to do a course, get on a podcast, create a podcast, work with, people like Jonathan. I mean, get your message out there so that people could hear what you have to offer to the world, because it could be just one person who's hanging on by a thread and doesn't know what to do or where to turn and goes, you know what, I'm ready. And I've had this is an actual true story. I've had a friend turn to me and say, I met a guy who came to me at an event and said, you changed my life. If it wasn't for you, I would be dead right now. But you have that opportunity as a thought leader. You have that opportunity to say, somebody's out there that needs me right now, and I can do something about it. And if you're that devoted and that dedicated to your craft, I think it's an obligation for you to share that.
Excellent. So we have been wrapping with Mr. Frank Lynn. Thank you for spending time with us today. Thank you, results leaders, for tuning in. And another show is in the can. That is a wrap for another edition of resultsleader.fm. If you are out there getting results for your clients and you want to be featured on the show, go to resultsleader.fm now and apply to be on the show. And if you love what you're hearing, share the show, give us a rating and review, do anything to help us get the message out there. Thought leadership is easy, but results leadership is hard. We'll catch you on the next one.
This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.